Welcome back, everyone, to the next installment of Corpse Party Blood Drive. Our quest for the EX chapters continues. Or I should say our quest through. We completed 4, so we may as well take a look at 5. Threading the Needle. Another Magari chapter, huh? In the depths of the Martumba's Tomb HQ, in a storage room stacked high with books to rival any libraries, I was hard at work researching my mark, squatting on the ground to read the books I'd spread out before me.
Book of Shadows はもともとうちのものだったんだよね。なんかルーツとか情報ないの？仮っぽいな。
I hit the shelf behind me with my back when I sneezed, and after a couple seconds had passed, a fairly heavy book fell from above, landing right on my spine. Oof. I observed the fallen tome, which had serendipitously opened to a photo that looked an awful lot like the very book I was seeking. Before I could read the associated passages, however, a member of the order appeared and gave me a stiff salute.
Second degree, Master Magari. 幸せの石の解析が終わりました。有機霊合 83% の本物のようです。
なあ、僕ら三輪愛子から取り上げた石ね。お前ら勝手に増やしたりしなかっただろうな。
とんでもございません。
まあいいか。これは私の獲物だから。出しゃばったら消すからね。いくらマルトゥバのものでも。
That was a crazy short chapter. Wow, that was the chapter. Well, I've been playing for a long time, so I think it's time to stop the installment. Like hell. I mean, this makes up for the previous long chapter, but we gotta do at least one more, come on. Wow. That was weird. I mean, that does justify how, well, not even how she got the stones. We already knew that, I guess just a little about them. Okay, fine. Let's take a look at chapter, where is it? 6. Book of Shadows. Oh, wait a minute. Well, that's silly of me. I went into real chapter 6. How embarrassing. Extra chapter, then go to 6. That's more like it. Separation. There we go. I thought the title Book of Shadows looked a little familiar. Now who's being separated? There's the question. Oh boy. I remember I was leaning against a wall in a small basement room with indirect lighting, and Hinoue was sitting in a chair across the room from me holding a coffee mug. This is probably going to be unpleasant. A beautiful silver bracelet on her left wrist caught the light, sparkling majestically.
とにかく検査結果が陰性でよかった。いいか、日野へ。必ず俺がお前を襲ったチームの奴らを一人残らず八つ裂きにする。思想もなく惰性を貪り、汚らしく息をし、覚悟もなくガキを量産するゴミどもが。くせな、こんな世の中滅べばいいだろう。俺がぶっ潰してやる。
Hinoue's tone of voice was calm and soothing. She was trying to bring me back from the rage that had consumed me.
私ね、子供の頃に思ったことがあるの。どうしようもなく辛い時、誰も助けてくれない時、友達に裏切られたって思った時ね、世の中の家族以外みんな死んじゃえばいいのにって考えてしまったの。中学2年生の時にね。
今でもそう思ってる。
でもね、その後大人になるまで過ごしてきて思うの。
Ooh. I don't think that was meant as a slam, but like, damn.
いろんな人に出会って知り合って親友になって、この人たちがこの世にいてくれてよかったって、生きててくれてよかったって後悔するよ。一時の感情で全てを終わらせてしまったら。
Talk about foreshadowing, huh?
あなたの物語はお話みたいにここで終わったりしないんだから。
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, if you concentrate all that rage into one spot, I mean, you could just end up losing your head, right?
うせえな。俺のこの思想は長年積み上げてきた結果だ。12秒と一緒にすんな。俺はな、弱い者いじめしかできない世の中、弱者の反撃を食らわせるんだよ。
あなたは理想が絶対に揺るがないんだね。少し羨ましいな。
Hinaway closed her eyes and smiled. She then drew her knees into her chest and wrapped her arms around them, contemplating something.
ひもえ、
私、そんなあなたにはついていけそうにない。
泣くなよ、ひもえ。
ごめんね。ごめんね。
謝んなよ。謝んなって。
ごめんね。
Hinaway buried her head in her hands and began to cry.
謝んなよ。考えの相違から日の絵と別れて数年が経ち、俺はそれから粛清の使命のもと。
The Purge, jeez, no kidding.
ああ、やったさ。人がいっぱいいるところを選んでたくさん殺した。ゴミどもの一味なら誰でもよかったんだ。
Huh. I didn't realize he'd actually just started killing people before he got the Book of Shadows. I mean, I know he killed the one reporter in his flashback, but just like highly populated area and killed a whole lot of people. I did not expect that. And then this happened. My headless corpse now lay in the heavenly host Nirvana. A silver bracelet dimly glinting upon his wrist. Ooh, that's depressing. These are really short chapters out of nowhere. Sad story, though. Okay. That only leaves us with Chapter 7, which will then unlock Chapter 8. Oh. Joan Osaka. And Rei Matsuzaki. I'm assuming those are both characters' respective voice actors. Okay, I really didn't expect this, but it's been under 10 minutes, and I've done 2. We have more than enough time to do another. Alright, last available one. Satsuki's heart. Yeah, I kinda wanna know what the deal with Satsuki is. Is she a human? Or, like, what's going on? Is she just gonna hang out with Yuka after all this is over, like nothing happened?
私には幼少の記憶がない。ただ両親が優しかったのは覚えてる。
It was dusk, and the room was completely unlit. It was so dark inside that we could have been entertaining guests, and I'd never have known it, because I'd never have been able to see them. I felt alone, but I knew I wasn't, and I was determined to get my mom's attention.
お母さん、お腹すいた。
Assuming she hadn't moved since the sun had started setting, my mom was probably still sitting at our small kitchen table, leaning her elbows on it and cradling her forehead. This was the third time I'd informed her of my desire to eat. And finally, this time, I could hear her start to move at the sound of my voice. Though this was my home, it had always just felt like an empty void to me. And now it was more than just a feeling. I noticed my voice was echoing a lot more than it ever used to. All of our furniture was mysteriously disappearing, day in and day out. Yesterday was the toaster, the day before was the piano, the day before that was our chest of drawers. And today was... Dad? Where had Dad gone, I wondered. Don't even tell me that Satsuki's been eating things and people, 'cause, you know, apparently she'll do that.
お母さん
Mom's shadow moved slightly, silhouetted in a shade of black only slightly different from the rest of the blackness around me. She extended her arm in my direction.
さつきごめんね
Or I wonder if it could also be related to Martupa's tomb. Her tone, like the house itself, was dark. Maybe it just sounded that way because of the general mood in the room. Hopefully that's all it was, I thought.
お母さん電気つかないさつきごめんね
Suddenly my field of vision shook violently and my surroundings began flitting by like shooting stars. Flashes of light were whizzing to and fro as the barely discernible ceiling pattern above me was phasing in and out of existence. The legs of the table I was sitting at began to melt away. I saw Mom's face for a moment, and then there was this strange march of frying pans flying through the air. Which was especially strange since we only owned one frying pan. My entire face began to swell and go into convulsions, and my ears were howling and ringing. I could barely hear anything anymore. The areas under my nose and ears were all wet and cold as well. Was it snot? Earwax? What was I feeling?
さつきごめんねごめんね
See? Whenever this happened, Mom would always hang back and rest her head for a bit, but would then hug me with the kindest, warmest, most sickeningly sweet embrace. That's why I love them. I love frying pans. I love what they represent to me.
ごめんねこれしかないの
Mom gave me some potato chips. Oh, that's why she always walks around with them. They weren't exactly my favorite brand, so the flavor was kinda iffy, but it's a thought that counts, right? There were cartons and cartons of potato chip bags all throughout our house, and they were all for me. I was the only one who really ate them. And whenever I did, Mom would always seem to be a little happier for some reason. So, frying pans are my favorite objects, and potato chips are my favorite food.
さつき3日後あなたに大事なお役目があるのよ
お役目って何
喜びなさいあなたは大司教様の比類ない英知で生まれ変わるの人間としてワンランク上に上がることができるのよ
So the parents are in on this too, it seems. This was Haruo Mizuhara. I'd known her since grade school. I still wasn't sure how to react when someone called out to me though, so I just stared at her blankly.
何相変わらずあんたってネクラねたまにはおいっすとかいい返事返してみなさいよまあいいやさつき犬今週末こそほら前から言ってたランド行こうよ週末はダメ集会があるもうそんなもの宗教にどっぷりハマってる親たちに任せればいいじゃないか本当は行きたいんだろう
I don't know, I kinda wanna be a weird flower monster.
ほらその顔は知ってるんだよさつき犬がランドで買ってきたモッキーのパンツ愛用してること行きたいけど親の押し付けなんてスルーやめろやめろ
Yeah, but this is the day of her ceremony, like that. Do not do that. Not today, not this meeting. Mizuhara was genuinely really funny. She had a certain sense of timing about her that made it hard for me not to get sucked in. I didn't usually laugh as a rule, but this girl could really bring it out of me.
まったくもう子供が親を選べたらいいのに。サツキ犬ももっと明るく健康的にさ。その結構胸もある体で男子を脳殺とかしろよな。プリンプルーン。
Wow, she did too. Also, bring the boys to the yard. Come on now. Later that day, Mizuhara had gotten into a car accident, on her way home from school. Her jaw had shattered on impact, preventing her from ever smiling again. Since then, she hadn't come to school a single time.
あなたがサツキちゃんね。よく来たわ。
You know, when Satsuki met Yuka and we introduced her, in the main game, wasn't her last name Mizuhara? Did she, like, take that name as an honor to this other girl?
偉い。本当に偉い。そんな若い美空で、物の道理と自己犠牲の尊さを分かってる。素敵よ。
I was brought to this suspicious place through some magic that obviously leaned a bit on the dark side. I remember I was really cold here since I was wearing nothing but a thin black robe.
目的も分からずに、無感動に親の言うことをひたすら聞く。きっととってもいい子なのでしょうね。
This was the headquarters of Martuba's tomb. I was in a room lined with terrifying-looking devices, and everyone around me was dressed in similar robes, listening intently, almost passionately, to the leader's voice. My mind was a blank slate. I had a slight smile on my face, but I didn't want to make eye contact, so I just focused all my attention on a random piece of floor.
はい、マスターマガリ。うちの子は本当に素直で従順で。
教団のお役に立てるならば何でもと進んで名乗りを上げました。
Okay, so the dad's here. Also, what happened to their stuff? Like the toaster, etc. What was that all about? Chest of drawers?
あっそ。それよりお前らは上納金を支払いな。どんだけ滞納してると思ってる。猫正月。汝は自らの意志でその運命を受け入れるか？
I gave an empty smile and turned my gaze lazily toward the corner of the ceremony room. What I saw there gave me a sudden chill, though I did my best not to show it. Sticking out from a massive earthenware pot was Harue's face, thoroughly bloodied with eyes rolled back into her skull. So did they do that to, like, break Satsuki's ties to the world? Maybe that's why all this stuff went missing, including her father. That's dark. Also, you'll notice the parallel of Satsuki herself breaking her jaw, or I should say, having it broken later on.
親の押し付けなんてスルースルー。
Streams of drool and blood alike had stained her lifeless chin. She appeared very much as if she had literally just been thrown away, like yesterday's garbage. So either Harue was killed as a test, or because she could have potentially been an obstacle. That sucks.
猫正月。どうだ？運命を受け入れた子らの親は見返りとして教団内で大きな地位を手に入れる。
I just love the irony of all this because Magari, by the end of the game, hated her order because it just devolved into crap. The room fell silent, no doubt anxiously awaiting my response. I'd been trying my hardest to swallow my emotions, but there are just some feelings a person can't suppress, and one of them made its way up from my heart and out of my mouth.
死にたくないです。マガリ様。
It was accompanied by a sudden flurry of tears, and my parents immediately began to show signs of extreme panic on their faces. They looked at me as if I just committed the greatest affront known to man. They were afraid, but also disgusted. Their stares were cold and accusatory.
危険にされる実験でしょ。そんなの嫌だよ。
So that's how it is.
よし。
This simple affirmative statement was followed by one quick flick of the wrist, and suddenly my parents were now missing the upper halves of their bodies. Damn. That raises another question, though. Satsuki had said to Yuka that her parents were generally hands-off. Was this, like, after they died? It had to have been. So did she forget their horrible murder, or is she just really playing it cool? Because that's pretty brutal. It required almost no effort. My parents each now lay in 2 pieces, making a squishy, slimy, awful sound as they died.
さつき、その息やよしだ。友達の水原の分も生きろ。あんたは私のもとで暮らすがいい。愛玩動物として飼ってやる。
Interesting.
代わりの親もすぐに用意してやるわ。
Holy crap. Who were those? Were those the hands-off ones then? Wow.
では、心霊手術始めまーす。
Yeesh. I am Satsuki Mizuhara, and I have just been born on this day. So were we given to Mizuhara's parents? Because how does that work? Whoa. That sucks. So I guess she's human, but like not. That sucks, man. Martua's tomb is messed up. EX Chapter 8. Hey, what do you say we take a look? Wrap this whole experience up. There you are. Do you think it'll be post-game? I'm curious as to what happened to everyone. I mean, the endgame showed us, but I don't know. I'd like to see a little more. Reignition?
篠崎あゆみによる涅槃封印は異空間天神小学校で命を落とした者たちの存在を取り戻した。
So it is post-game. Okay.
しかし死者は蘇らない。
Yeah, we've definitely been over that one.
エンティティウォールや涅槃球体は消滅したが、下界には巨大な穴と多数出た死者という爪痕はそのまま残っていた。持田聡どもの話を聞くと、教師宍戸結衣の代わりにいた丹羽久遠や篠原聖子の代わりにいた生徒はその存在を消滅させたらしい。
That, on one hand, that makes sense, but that's just sad. We never really met the students who took place of Morishige, Seiko, and Mayu, but like that's still rough.
だが丹羽久遠は死亡の事実は変わらないが、丹羽愛子の姉としてのその存在は残った。
Speaking of which, does Aiko still exist? Like, did Kuon just appear out of nowhere? Or I don't know. Magara said she'd take care of Aiko, so maybe yes.
会長を失ったパーフェクトライフは偉大な支柱の抜けた穴を埋めるため、引き継ぎや後処理で大きな混乱に陥っていたようだ。
And good luck replacing Kuon, huh?
世はすべての歴史に立ち会ってきたシャーマンなり。過去邪馬台国で卑弥呼が倒れし時も、東欧革命の折にあの壁が崩れし時も、世は転生を繰り返し、すべての時代が変わる瞬間に立ち会い、世を動かしてきた存在である。たたえよ。世がここへ転生してくるゆえんは、まさにこの世が変わる随長、報われぬ魂よ。前世の業を覆いし不遇のとよ。世とともに変革の観測者たらん。皆福音である。この幼子を見よ。昨夜我が教団にて産み落とされし奇跡の子である。母親は不明。この弱いでの生誕、これはまさに神の再来なり。この子には才能がある。世の後継としてふさわしく成長するであろ 世と共に称えるのだ。
Once the cleanup efforts from the Nirvana incident had more or less become old news, I decided to pay the Order a visit and see what was up. Yeah, I'm kinda wondering why she's here.
随分とボロボロになったものね。涅槃期間後、私はマルトゥバ本部へ戻ってきた。教祖部屋は壁や床に穴が開き、教団機も傾いて、ひどく荒れ果ててしまっていた。
マスターマガリー、ご無事でしたか。
わずかに残った教団員、あれほどいた連中がどこに姿を消してしまったのだろうか。世界の混乱にも耐えうる結束と信じていた私は内心胸がムカついていた。教団員はおどおどした挙動で私の顔色をうかがってくる。教祖様は
それが
教祖は教団近くに何本目かのエンティティウォールが生えた際に慌てふためいて階段を踏み外し死亡したという。
That's a pretty lame way to go, especially for a person of such importance.
教団員は随分減ったが皆死んだのか。
はい。または恐ろしくなり逃げ出した者も多数。
他の幹部もか。
はい。
I turned around and walked out of the room. Tell me Waldo's okay, I kinda like him. The springs creaked and groaned as I tossed about in my bed.
マルトゥバに捧げた私の人生は何だったのか。
I got up and jumped right back down into the mattress once more. I wanted to break the fucking thing.
私のやってきたことって私の存在意義ってすごくさくだらなかったんじゃないの。
I slammed the bed repeatedly with my fists and the springs rocked back and forth vigorously.
捨てられてから一人でやってきてさ、バルドに拾われて生きる意味を見つけたって思ってさ、誰にも負けないようにやってきたのに、誰もみんないなくなったじゃないか。
My eyes were red and I was out of breath. As I threw my tantrum, a familiar figure stepped in through my bedroom door carrying a tray. Hell yeah.
お嬢様、お帰りなさいませ。
Man, this really is like the straightest guy alive.
ミルクティーをお持ちしました。
I got up and threw myself at Waldo with every last bit of force my muscles could push. Instantly, I was bawling. Waldo was old and wise. He was my rock in all of this.
バルド、いいか、私を一人にするな。
はい。
This guy, what a legend. He smiled at me.
私が立て直すから、もっといいものにしてやるから、ついてこい。
もちろんです、お嬢様。
That's rather interesting. A lot of EX chapters were Magari, weren't they? There we have it. I think that's everything. Bingo. You know what? What better way to close the footage then with my main man here. I just gotta do this. He was so entertaining in Book of Shadows. I gotta hear it. Where are you? Bingo!
ずっさお前そんなにミサイルをいっぱい撃つモビルスーツ好きなのか人体模型どうも人体模型役の杉田です木南優也役でもありましたあれは人体模型なのかそれともさて、今回で完結ということを最初連絡を受けた時に僕はふと学生の頃を思い出しました中学高校、大学と卒業式ってもらって大学は出なかったんですけどもあと高校も出なかったんですよねなので卒業式とかそういう学校に行かなくなるっていう卒業していくってことに対してのなんか感慨深いものが一切なくて中学の時は仲良かった連中ってそのまま高校も同じだったんで別に明日からまたいつもの通りゲームとエロ本の話で盛り上がれるねみたいなあれおかしいなってで初めてなんですよコープスが天神症から卒業するっていうことじゃないですかつまりめちゃくちゃ寂しくなっておいおい今まではさほんとしんどいわ早く終われよなんて思ってたのが終わっちゃうんですかってなった瞬間になんだこのどうして終わるんですかっていうこの感覚すごいね優勝だねありがとうございました
Man, this guy's so crazy. I freaking love it. No better way to end than with Yuya Kazami, Tomokazu Sugita. What a freaking boss. Anyway, this game, ton of fun, lots of emotions. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Well, we've done it. We beat Corpse Party Blood Drive, and it was certainly a spectacular end to the series. Bittersweet, but there was satisfaction to be had. It seems that Yoshiki and Ayumi might just live happily ever after all. Although I do kind of wonder what was up with Yoshiki bringing his ever after stones. I don't think he can use them. Maybe they'll just enjoy their non-existence together. It would be kind of nice. And while we were in fact unable to resurrect our friends, we at least remember them, and so there is a degree of finality to this whole thing, so we can all move on with our lives. This was an interesting game. It went back to the original Corpse Party style of gameplay where you run around and avoid getting caught by ghosts and solve some puzzles, but there were also visual novel aspects of it as well, with the long extended dialogues and the pictures to go with them. Now, some complaints I heard about this game were that it's like the motif is radically different than that of both of its predecessors, because with the old games, it was like dealing with the curse and trying to come to terms with your own mortality and see if you can get out of this hellscape. Whereas in this third game, or fourth, it's literally the end of the world and everyone's running around with spiritual powers and we're straight up attacking a boss by throwing energy balls at her at the end. It's pretty over the top. As a standalone game, I would say I really like it, but it does feel off in terms of, I guess, amalgamating with its predecessors. So overall it was a good game, but it kind of felt weird as a Corpse Party game, even though the characters were still the characters. Although you could argue there were some subtle changes with them. Satoshi had more to do, so he got more of a chance to emote, so he wasn't the bland nothing that he was in the first game. Ayumi, she didn't really have much to do in the first game until maybe toward the end, because she was possessed for a bunch of the time when she was with Yoshiki. But in this game, oh man, like, you can easily understand why she makes every decision she does. But they're so dumb. And, like, I know she's willing to do anything to bring her friends back, include trust someone as obviously shady as Misuto, and there's no way you could have expected bringing about the end of the world, but, like, oh, for God's sake. And, like, it's not so much falling for tricks as it is just actively abandoning, or I should say rejecting, anyone's attempt to help her. And even Yoshiki ran off and left her by herself when he was chasing Megari at one point, which felt really off to me, and it's just bad decision, bad decision, bad decision, bad decision, bad decision. It was freaking ridiculous. Speaking of which, in response to one of those, I had made an offhanded comment about when Ayumi finally said, "Oh man, I was so stupid for trusting you," or something like that. That comment just really tickled me because it's like, thanks, Ayumi, you figured it out after half the game is over and literally everyone on Earth, or that's not true. Tons of people on Earth are just straight up dead, and I was like, oh man, someone carved that into stone, and Kirisa actually did digital stone, but I thought it was really funny. There it is, immortalized throughout the ages. Ayumi admits it. Took long enough, but hey, better late than never. Now, I did really like the game. What I discovered later was that obviously it was referential to Hysteric Birthday. Apparently it's more referential than I thought. The gym, where the third pillar was and the really loud music, that was apparently like the hub in Hysteric Birthday. Someone told me about that. Aiko, just her character, is from Hysteric Birthday. I forgot if Magari was or not. Azusa definitely was. So it was just kind of disorienting. Like, characters didn't react to the gym at all. Like, one of them did, but the other was like, okay, we're just walking through, and there's just a little bit of eyebrow-raising stuff if you hadn't played the games. Again, do you need to play Hysteric Birthday to know what was going on in this game? No, you really didn't. But it would have been nice. And I'm assuming the main reason Xseed's not bringing it over is that Corpse Party is a pretty obscure series, all things concerned, or all things considered, and Hysteric Birthday is the obscure, weird one within that series. Like the romantic spin-off comedy of Corpse Party. Realistically, how many people are going to jump on that? So, guess we're not going to be getting that, but it's at least possible to look up translations. I think there's manga online, and someone did a translation LP of it, so material does exist. Also, one thing that really threw me was Azusa was always chasing Yoshiki around, calling him Knight with a K, like medieval knight, and I didn't really know the significance of that. I figured it was an in-joke, and it is, but it's not because it's Hysteric Birthday. Actually, the translator of the game told me that, of course, Yoshiki's last name is Kishinuma, and Kishi by itself means knight, so it's almost a nickname, so that's kind of funny. Speaking of stuff the translator of the game told me, I missed something that was rather crucial. You may have noticed the end of the game you have to fight the witch and beat her with Futhark, and how the hell are you supposed to do this? Other than guessing and checking. Once you guess and check, you can kind of finagle your way through it, but how the hell do you just do this, not knowing when you go in? Well, it turns out that I had two opportunities that I missed. One of them I can show you right here. It's actually within the art book itself. There, on the very first and the very last page, you get a picture of the Book of Shadows. I'm not holding this right. There it is. And you get little Futhark in the bottom. And then there's more of that on the very last page of the book, so presumably you could put that together, although that is really, really subtle. Very easy to miss that. So that requires finagling, but don't worry, you don't have to buy the special edition of the game to figure out how to do these puzzles. The answers are also, well, hinted at in the reference room. By the time I got to chapter 10, I was just like, reference room, in, out, we're done. And I used a walkthrough to follow the Futhark puzzles because, for God's sake, but you could have gotten at least some hints in the reference room at that time. So the game does try to help you out, you just have to know to look for it. It's like the Talisman of the Glass Ball. You don't just do that during your first playthrough. I was using a guide for that. So, there are answers. Rather interesting. I also got a kick out of a lot of the EX chapters. I freaking loved Shimada's chapter. It was pretty good up until the point where he told a ghost story, at which point it became freaking amazing. But of course there were real emotions to be had in the EX chapters too. Morashige's was brutal, but it was fun to see more and more Morashige playing around. Probably my ass, definitely my least favorite EX chapter was the fourth one, with Aiko, Haruyumi, Naho, and Magari, because it took forever and it was just dumb. Like, they're just, like, this is Magari, like Mizuki Magari, who walks around with a scythe and kills people, and she's messing with the other two girls by, like, withholding sweets. Also, she owns the sweet shop. Like, what? And it was just dumb, like, the entire time. Every once in a while it would cut back to Aiko being attacked by Haruyumi, and you're just like, oh my god, that's right, this is a flashback, and mortality is coming, but, like, it didn't really do that enough. It was like, yeah, I wasn't reading the text myself and moving along, I was letting the voice actors do their voice acting, so it took longer because of that, but like an hour and 20 minutes, geez, you did not need to make it take that long. Just get to the part where they take the pictures of themselves to explain the pictures. Just, like, everything was so petty. It was just eating sweets, and what do I do? Oh my god. I do appreciate that there was a post-game EX chapter with Megari, moving on to our next thing, and Waldo's the coolest butler ever. I would have liked to have seen our main characters doing things after the fact, but you really don't need to. You can see where things are going, and the game hinted at it enough, so I guess we'll just have to take that. This was, overall, I thought, a really fun game to play, though. I really did enjoy myself the entire time, and the wrong ends, when they felt like actually having them and not just going game over, were quite entertaining, and some of them particularly gruesome. Like, geez. Overall, I would say it did feel like a Corpse Party game. The motif for the whole spiritual everything was getting over the top, but you could tell it was a Corpse Party game. I enjoyed it, I had fun playing it, and I hope we see more where this came from. Now, of course, the saga is over, but not entirely, as the voice actors in their soulful testimonies would have you believe. Several of them said, oh, this is the end of the Heavenly Host arc, and Ayumi's voice actor even straight up mentioned, like, oh yeah, well, I'll see you in Corpse Party 2, because there is Corpse Party Dead Patient, which is apparently a wildly different story with different characters, although Ayumi might be in it. So, I'm hoping we get that game as well. I'd love to see where it goes. I'm always up for more Corpse Party. This was a lot of fun to play, and I hope you enjoyed watching as much as I enjoyed playing it. Thank you all so much for watching, and of course, special thanks goes to those who submitted title cards to me, so in order of submission and therefore order of appearance, thank you to DJ Gamer and Kitty-sa. Your work was great. And again, thank you all for watching. I very much appreciate it. And on to the next game. Until next time, everyone.